Hi my friends, this is your friend JJ Madhav. We'll talk briefly today about government marketing as opposed to private sector and corporate or small business marketing. Or what I mean by government marketing is public institutions. The marketing strategy and approach should and needs to be different. If you're let's take this example. If you're a politician, you're running for office. America is different than Canada. Canadians care about more, to be honest with you, about the platform and that the candidate is running on, and their belief system and what they tend to impose and do and change and so on and so forth, than Americans do. It has been said, and it is true, for Americans it's much more of a popularity contest, and it is the case. So to be successful in that capacity, you need to be focusing on your brand, right? You've got to have a name, you've got to have a tagline, you have to have a slogan, and you have to have a very dumbed down, palatable, very easy, palatable, outward, citizen-facing, simplistic platform. But basically, it's you, what do you look like, how do you talk, and what intangibles do they infer from you. There isn't a lot that Americans tend to care about when it comes to the actual goods, the goods meaning data and information. A lot of people could care less, and it's not my opinion. I'm being neutral about this. I'm not taking a side on it. Okay, it's a popular vote. Americans tend to care less about what are your viewpoints on things, and what are you going to change, and how are you going to improve the country, and specifics. Americans don't like specifics. In fact, they generally don't even care about things like your feelings on abortion and how to deal with child molesters and how to reduce crime in the city, and I mean things we would think of as in our community as topics that are important. The average American voter is less interested in those kinds of things. In Canada it's very different, but I'm not here to make the comparison. I'm here to tell you how do you go ahead and now market based upon that. So you focus on your brand and you focus on your taglines. You're looking for sound bites, okay, not essays, but sound bites that resonate with your audience. And you need to know your audience as a base or group of bases that can get behind, rally behind for whatever reason, and want to support you and vote for you and elect you into office. So your marketing strategy and your PR strategy needs to be focused around that. Look how many politicians have been elected regardless of having previous allocations of white-collar crime, business fraud, sexual misconduct, and so on and so forth. Those don't seem to be barriers to entry. So one's character in the public sector like that, and meaning as a politician, is less important generally as if we compared it to your character in the business world. Like if someone to hire me, they'd want to do a background check and a drug test and look at references and all of this kind of stuff. It's pretty typical. Well, that's not quite applicable in someone running for office. Now let's talk about still the government and public sector, but a different side of it. Now, instead of you a politician, let's say you're a magistrate, you're running for to be elected as a judge. It's very much the same thing. Nobody needs to know what you've accomplished in terms of legislation and legal changes, what your years of work experience include. They just need to know your name, your family history. Do you have a background in there? When I was in Texas, your political party affiliation was a big determining factor. But I have found this to be true. whether you like it or not. My experience has shown that people will put money over politics and religion in their list of priorities each and every time, with the exception of a very small group of people that I deem to be more thoughtful, analytical, use decision-making skills, more ethical, and more value-minded and value-driven. But that's the minority. Okay, so people will, when it comes to politics, put money over religion and family every single time. And the reason that they do that is quite clear, because at the end of the day, people are trying to acquire money so that they can have a better life for themselves and their family. And that's the number one priority of any mother or father. And they will compromise their religious and political beliefs in order to make that happen. So there is a logic to it, and I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that that is the case. Now, again, this is not me trying to sit here and give opinions and moralize. This is me giving you relevant information and talking now about how that impacts marketing strategy. So knowing that a lot of what you communicate may be substantive or not, it may be selling the sizzle without the steak, so marketing focused versus actual data that can back up that something will change here politically or with a certain law or some legislative practice. Let's take rape for example. I haven't seen rape is a big problem. We know that. It's a huge problem in California, I'll tell you that, from the years I lived there. I never saw the police enforcement or politicians do one goddamn thing to make rape laws stronger and help out rape victims gain some satisfaction from actually catching the victim and getting them jailed and getting some repercussion so that that victim can feel like they have some justice. Bad word to use, justice. Justice to me is like truth. They're meaningless words. What is truth? What is untruth? What is justice? What is injustice? Well, you can philosophize about that forever you want. But anyways, they have done nothing practical that's been executed on and changed in terms of legislation to help rape victims gain some feeling that justice has been done and accomplished. So it's selling the sizzle without the steak, right? All politicians do this. You can say a lot of things. Those that run for as judges do the same thing. Oh, we're going to be tougher on these guys, or we're going to be tougher on these. Basically, they're more sound bites. They tell you what it is that you want to hear, because that's how the marketing is done. And 9 times out of 10 people support that conceptually, which is good enough, buy into it, and vote for that person. They get in office, and it's business per usual, right? So I'm not saying that's a great system, it's a bad system. I'm saying that's the system that it is, and based on that, here's how marketing needs to be done. So it's more about your brand, you as a brand. Who are you? What have you done? What do you claim to stand for? What do you claim you're going to do or change? They rarely ever seem to happen. And people will buy into it. I'll give you I'll give you a personal experience. I was very happy when Obama was elected. Especially, I never thought in my lifetime I would see an African American, half black, anyways, president. I thought that was hugely great for humanity and progressive across the globe. Fast forward many years, I actually last year for a few months had Obamacare insurance. Turned out to be the one of the stupidest things I've ever done because it cost me money. Premiums were very low, but I couldn't find a doctor who would accept it, so I couldn't utilize it. The government gives you, it subsidizes it, so you get tax credits. If you don't know, if you're not aware of this, so when it comes to tax time at the end of the year, you end up out of pocket. You're not having any action. You have to pay that credit back, basically. So I realized that was not a good move. Saying we're going to make everyone have health care and we're going to implement universal health care sounds great, but that's not how America operates or should operate. That's what America is about. Now I have a different perspective on this than most because I grew up in Canada, so I spent 24 years with universal health care. If you want universal health care, it's that important to you, don't become an American. Go to Canada or move to Europe. That's my answer to you. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because it's going back to how does one politician market themselves, or anyone in government market themselves, and how you can say something that resonates with an audience to get what you want, which is the support and the votes, and turn around and either do something about these things or not do anything about these things. Or we may come to find much, much later on down the road that we were duped and deceived. Okay? I'm not now talking about Obama. The healthcare was a personal example that I experienced, but now I'm in general saying this is how it works. What I'm going to explore, because I travel a lot now, both personally and professionally, is how what I'm saying now applies to other countries. So I'm very interested in going to other countries. I'm going to make a personal effort to do this now, because I'm already going to other countries and exploring the people and the culture, the languages, the food, and all that great fun stuff, the architecture, the history, and so on. So now I'm going to add to my agenda looking into how governments operate and how public entities operate within those various countries and societies, and compare and contrast them with what I know about Canadian and U.S. public sectors. So that's something that I'm going to endeavor to improve my level of knowledge on. Why not take advantage of as many learning opportunities as you can while you have the opportunity to travel anyway? So those are my thoughts on marketing for the public sector. Madhav, as always, thanks for listening.